Kalispera, Galimera, Galinichta, no matter where in this wild, wacky, and sometimes wonderful world you might be, thank you for making the Highbury Squad part of your day. And welcome to a brand new pre recorded series, one on ones with some of my favorite journalists and some of the best that we always bring you here at Squad Central. Let's rock and roll, Squaddies. It's Nwaneri watch time on the first episode of the Is This On? Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad. Indeed, welcome to episode 1 of Is This On? And I am delighted to welcome back one of my favorites. I've been talking football with Matt for a long, long time. Mr. Matt Spiro. Now, I always screw it up. Did I do it right? Because I'm Greek and I veer to the Greek, Matt.
Sophie, you say Spiro better than anyone else I know. Amazing.
Welcome back to Squad Central. One of our favorites, Matt Spiro, from the French football show. And also, as you know, my go-to guy when it comes to anything French football. Matt, welcome back to Squad Central. Good to have you.
Thank you, Sophie. Great to be back. And I'm pleased you're finding ways of getting me back on because Mikel's not signing many French players, is he, these days? Apart from Saliba, we're a bit short of French players, but there is still a good connection.
There is a good connection. Not the last time we spoke, but the French connection, of course, that we're here to talk about today is Ethan Nwaneri at Marseille, part of a loan deal in January. And of course, the great William Saliba also fared quite well when he went to Marseille. We're going to get stuck into all of it. For those listening on our audio platforms, Apple and Spotify, please make sure you subscribe, hit the like button so you don't miss a show. I think you'll enjoy Matt. Some of you on our audio platform may not have heard from him before, but you will enjoy this. Also, while we're at it, please go give the French football show a follow. Matt, real quick, your new show. I'm so happy you've been doing this. You and Adrian Clark are two people I always felt like you have to have your own YouTube channel. Tell us a little bit about it. The Squaddies can find you and we'll remind them at the end of the show as well.
Yeah, no, thank you, Sophie. So, started up this project at the beginning of the season, a weekly French football podcast that I do with some colleagues over here. A journalist you may know called Tom Williams, a commentator called Andy Scott. They're my regular guests, and we look at Ligue 1, but we look at sort of the big issues in French football in general. So hopefully, topics that will interest a lot of people. So available on the podcast platforms and on YouTube, the French Football Show.
Brilliant stuff. And I know there's going to be a lot of fans that will want to follow, of course, because of Ethan. And we're going to get stuck into all of it a little bit here, Matt, with you, because what started off as, I think, something quite exciting, and especially when you look at kind of the trajectory of Saliba. I know the connections for Saliba and Marseille and French football are a lot different than Ethan. But in terms of Ethan and needing to play football and being an important component of perhaps Arsenal's future, we'll see if he goes down the Saka route or the Emile Smith Rowe route at some point. But let's start at the tippy top of the Ethan mountain, because I think most Arsenal fans, considering he wasn't playing regularly, Matt, were happy for this loan to Marseille, and in particular, Roberto De Zerbi. So let's start at the beginning. Why Marseille? And also the structure of the deal. The no recall seems to be hurting Arsenal now, but there was intent on that, wasn't there? Talk to us about how it all started.
Yeah, I think the narrative has changed a bit, hasn't it? With sort of an injury to Marino, problems of numbers perhaps in the Arsenal midfield, and people thinking, well, why have we let Ethan go? And of course, the other big change has been the sacking of, or the mutual departure, mutual agreement with Roberto De Zerbi leaving Marseille. On the face of it, this was a deal that I absolutely got behind, and I thought was a great deal for Ethan Nwaneri. And in the long run, I think it will be a good deal for him and for Arsenal. Why? Because I think it was, first of all, a position, Ethan's sort of position of a sort of central attacking midfielder, playmaker, that Marseille needed, and that De Zerbi had a lot of sort of different players filling in the role. None of them could do it particularly well. And of course, Ethan, he's been such a peripheral figure this season at Arsenal that just thinking at his age, and I know he's still young, but when you think that he came through when he was 15, and we've seen him for several seasons now, I think he needs to be playing regularly. I think that's important. So yeah, started really well. 13 minutes into his debut, Ethan scores against Lens, who were second, I think. They're now top of the league in France. And Marseille won 3-1. The Velodrome is an unbelievable place. It's a unique stadium to play football in. Well, I've not played in it, but it's a unique stadium to go and watch football in. Amazing atmosphere, but it's a tough place. And I've said that, all along. I've had the pleasure of speaking to William Saliba, speaking to Robert Pires, and they talk about, doing well at Marseille as being one of the hardest things for a footballer, having to get used to that whole crazy environment. It's 24/7, anywhere you go, the whole city, the whole region lives for OM, as they're known. And it can be a lot. It can be quite sort of suffocating. Saliba succeeded. Pires succeeded, particularly in his first season. Then when he was captain, found it really hard, and Marseille was struggling, and he was being abused and booed and what have you. So actually, for him going to Arsenal afterwards was, I wouldn't say it was a piece of cake. He had to get used to the Premier League and stuff, but it was definitely a good grounding for him. So I think, Ethan it's going to be an eye opener. I think already what's happened in the last few weeks has been pretty unbelievable, even by Marseille standards. I mean, so much has happened, and unfortunately, not very positive things for Marseille. In particular, the issue of De Zerbi leaving. Given how much was said during the move, Sophie, about Ethan wanting to play for De Zerbi, and I think Mikel Arteta spoke to the Italian coach as well. So that does change things a bit.
So let's get stuck into that before we get talking about Ethan's football and the performances, because it definitely has a narrative as part of kind of this journey that Ethan is on. Because I can't even imagine what it's like, especially as a young player. Not only is he leaving a club he's been part of since he was a child, he's going to another country. I know it's just France, but you go and move to another country, folks who haven't, and let's see how easy it is. It isn't. I moved to the States years ago, and as an adult, and it's an English-speaking country, and it's daunting, it's overwhelming, it's challenging. So he's signing for De Zerbi, and Arteta spoke about it with enthusiasm in his press conferences as well, Matt. And then bad results, and the turmoil begins. 10th of February, this picture courtesy of Eurofoot.com on X. 10th of February, Roberto De Zerbi leaves Marseille. 15th, Mehdi Benashia, and you'll correct me on the pronunciation, leaves Marseille. Manager and sporting director depart Marseille within just a few days. Then your post, I'll come back to this one. I don't know what game this one's from, but your post, Matt, on X: angry Marseille fans boycott the start of today's Strasbourg game. Stands empty in protest for a club self-destructing. All your projects go up in smoke over all of these wasted years. Additional messages at the bottom for the owner and president, for Frank McCourt and Eva Longoria, which we will leave for you guys to decide. It rhymes with muck, and we'll leave it at that. But the spiral, Matt, was there a sign? Should Arsenal have been more in tune? Or did this just implode within, like you said, a matter of 10 days? And by the way, we'll get to this email because it's the, in fact, this explains it brilliantly. Your email, your post about in 10 days what Ethan has experienced. Talk us through this madness.
Could Arsenal have seen this coming? No. But looking back, you look at the game that Marseille lost, which was the Super Cup. They call it the Trophée des Champions. Marseille played PSG. It was played in Kuwait. Marseille played brilliantly, and and actually were better than PSG. They came from behind. They were 2-1 up, 94th minute, PSG equalised. And, that was basically Marseille's fault. They didn't defend well at the end. And they lose the penalty shootout. De Zerbi said he was crying in the dressing room, and he's never cried after a game before. I mean, this is the thing, like emotions run so high. You may go, oh, it's only the Super Cup, but it's a game against PSG, and also Marseille haven't won anything for 14 years. So that obviously hurt him, hurt the football club. And the real sort of hammer blow, and this happened after Ethan signed, was what happened in Bruges when Marseille, I think they had a 90% chance of going through at least to the playoffs in the Champions League. But they lost 3-0 to Bruges. They were still in with a shout of going through. They decided to sort of stop playing. So they're like, let's just stop conceding goals and let's hold on to 3-0 because we're still 24th. And then Benfica went up with their goalkeeper and scored that goal against Real Madrid. And it was just, Marseille went out in quite shameful way, and they felt quite embarrassed because they'd lost 3-0 in Bruges and they'd sort of not even been trying to score towards the end. So Ethan was there. He wasn't eligible to play in that game, but he would have seen that. Obviously, he would have noticed the tension in the dressing room. De Zerbi didn't speak to his players after that game because I think he was scared of what he would say to them. And, I mean, the only thing is, it is a massive cultural change for him. He's joining this big club where there are big expectations and what have you. There are plenty of English speakers these days at Marseille, so it's not like he's being thrown in and no one's telling him what's going on. Obviously, Mason Greenwood is probably the highest profile one there, but there's Egan Riley, a young defender who Ethan knows well. And there are other English-speaking players. So he would have known what's going on, but yeah, he would have probably been thinking, what's going to sort of happen next. And things, unfortunately, have gone from bad to worse. And that 5-0 defeat to PSG, which is the biggest defeat in the history of the fixture, which might surprise people because there have been some thrashings. But PSG didn't even need to play well in that. It's like Marseille self-destructed, and De Zerbi just said, that's it. I'm giving up now.
Wow. Yeah. So it does feel like, because there's going to be some fans, I think, that will point to why weren't Arsenal more in tune with the issues at Marseille? But it does sound like things imploded pretty quickly after those performances, as you outlined. And perhaps at that point as well, Matt, there wasn't a lot of time to make decisions. I know there were other clubs as well that were interested in Ethan in the Premier League too, but choosing Marseille, choosing De Zerbi. So how then does this impact Ethan? Because let's look at what's the most important here now if you're Arsenal or Mikel or a fan. And again, I reiterate, like, Ethan was the man to be excited about before Max Dowman even kicked the ball. And as I've said before on the show, I think that Max being just so dazzling has kind of dampened a little bit of the Ethan spark, but also don't think Ethan's taken his chances as well as some of the other players. But 58 minutes, 67, 45, 45, and then no starts since De Zerbi has left. Talk us through this a little bit, because what matters, Matt, is the football. Let's talk about the football.
Yeah, so just one game that he hasn't featured in. That was the game against Strasbourg on Saturday, and Marseille were 2 up, and Strasbourg started coming back in the second half. So I think the caretaker coach, who's a sort of veteran Marseille guy, he's already had spells as a caretaker at Bernardo. He wasn't looking to bring attacking players on. They were trying to protect their lead, and Strasbourg equalised in the I think the 97th minute. So again, not a positive experience. I just want to say that I don't see this as a disaster for Ethan because De Zerbi's gone. Like, there is still a lot to play for Marseille. This is still De Zerbi's team, so it's not all of a sudden there's going to be a massive change of plan, and the new coach isn't going to want Ethan Nwaneri. I mean, whoever the new coach is going to be will, I'm sure, know all about Ethan Nwaneri and his potential and see him as a player who can help sort of inject fresh energy, I think, into Marseille's flagging season. In terms of the game, so great start against Lens, and he went off after an hour or so, got a big ovation, and Marseille fans were at that point thinking, okay, this, we've got a terrific young player. The season, we've still got a lot to play for. But then obviously, results have tailed off. And after that Champions League exit, Ethan's form has tailed off as well. I mean, he didn't play badly in the next game, which they won, if I'm not mistaken. So he played against Lens in the 3-1. No, he played an hour or so against Paris FC, which they were 2-0 up when Ethan went off, and they drew 2-2. He didn't play at all badly in that. But you feel that he's been unsettled by all, everything that's been going on around the football club, which is understandable. Because against Rennes, he really struggled in the cup. He committed a challenge that should have been a red card. It would have been a red card in Ligue 1, but there was no VAR in the Coupe de France. So he was a bit lucky to get a yellow card, and the coach took him off. I think more because he was on yellow, and I think he'd committed one more foul after that. His performance at the Parc des Princes was really poor, but he was playing in a Marseille side where everybody was poor. I mean, he looked a little bit like a rabbit in the headlights insofar as, he'd get the ball, maybe rush a little bit into making the decisions and sort of misplace a 5-yard pass. Like, it was bad. It wasn't good. And he was hooked at half time with Marseille in all sorts of trouble. So after that bright start, there's no question he has been affected and his performances have dropped off. And Marseille fans who've seen him in the last few games, I think, they're quite quick to judge him, Marseille. And a lot of them are like, who the hell is this guy? Trying some fancy dribbles and this and that. We need people rolling their sleeves up. We need people to fight here. Like I say, it's a long way to go. Marseille's still in the cup. They've got a big cup game, quarterfinal against Toulouse at home, which won't be easy. Toulouse are quite tough to beat. And they've got to try and finish top 3. They've been left behind by Lyon. They're 5 points adrift of the top 3. But like I say, there is plenty of time. And Ethan, he can't just go, okay, De Zerbi's gone. I played poorly. Let's just sit this one out now for the next few months. So he needs to show his character and his hunger. And honestly, if he does that, there's every chance he'll play and get that good experience that we all wanted him to get.
Is he playing the same? I'm gonna, this is why I have you on the show, to be educated. Is he playing the same position every time, Matt? No?
What? No, but no. I mean, this is the other thing with De Zerbi. Like, his teams and his tactics change a lot from game to game, sometimes during games. But he started on the right of a front 3. With Greenwood playing through the middle, if I'm not mistaken. He's played more recently centrally in a sort of 3 attackers behind the front man. So I think he's being used in positions that suit him and suit his game. I think playing wide right at the Parc des Princes against the PSG side who were just totally dominant. Again, it's very hard to read too much into that. He didn't see much of the ball. But he, like I said at the beginning, I think De Zerbi's played 7 different people in that sort of number 10 position. And my reading of this was he is getting Nwaneri in to play that central role, to link up with Greenwood and Aubameyang. And, on paper, it looks very promising. But so far, I'd say he's kind of been moved between those 2 positions, more right, more central. And it would be good if he could settle down. But then on Saturday, he lost his place, and there is competition in the squad. That Marseille have got a pretty big squad. So he needs to show in training. He needs to show when he does get minutes that he's, up for this. And we know he's good enough to play for Marseille and to shine in Ligue 1, but he's got to show that he's got that determination as well.
I mean, this is a baptism of fire. This tweet that you put out, I'm sure the 10,000 likes and the thousands of retweets are mostly from Arsenal fans in terms of his first 10 days. But you're right, he does, because I think there have been times where Arsenal fans felt like he didn't grab his opportunity when it came. And he's being kind of outshined by other younger players coming through now, whether or not Mikel believes in his off the ball game, which is what a lot of fans kind of felt, that his discipline off the ball isn't kind of like some of the other players. Just real quick, on the style, what are the French media saying about? And you talked about the fans. Who is this? He's doing flicks and tricks or whatever, or dribbling. It was you said, but from the defensive side, the off the ball work that Arsenal have kind of become one of the best in Europe at, as said by Kevin Hatchard on this show last year. What does that look like, Matt?
At the moment, he's been. It's very difficult to make a judgment because he's been in games where Marseille have dominated, and he's been in a game where Marseille have been completely outplayed. So the game, against Lens, Marseille were really on it from the word go. They went 2-0 up early on, and Ethan was excellent, but he only played an hour, and Lens sort of did get into the game a bit in the second half. Paris FC are a very weak team. The cup game against Rennes, seeing that photo there, he did put in a few tackles like we're seeing on that photo, and he did show determination to track back. But I think it's too difficult at the moment to judge. I think in this Marseille side, if you're playing with Mason Greenwood, Greenwood's main problem, if you like, is that he will switch off and he will sort of leave it to the others to do a lot of the dirty work. So I think Ethan is absolutely going to have to do that if he's going to play regularly, whoever the next coach is.
Okay, so another thing that, of course, you want him to be in a good environment. By the way, you guys should check the post. But basically, Ethan's story so far sees a lot of different components, including witnessing a training ground scrap between his teammates. He saw 3 other new teammates that you write about, Murillo, Gomez, and O'Reilly, pushed towards exits. Does he have the right characters around him? You were talking about Aubameyang, who I think has evolved and matured a lot since he was at Arsenal. You'll be the one to tell me. But Matt, is he in the right environment for those components, characteristics that are super important to Mikel Arteta, as we all know?
It's not ideal. I'll be honest with you. I think Aubameyang definitely can play a role. I think he's helped young players, and he is mature. He doesn't play every single game, but he's doing well. He's still doing well for Marseille. I think the problem is maybe certain experienced players are at the moment being absolutely hounded by the fans. Even Højbjerg, who was really impressive last season, he was booed by the supporters on Saturday. Belletti, who's the captain, everybody wants him out now. He had a disaster at the Parc des Princes against PSG, and unfortunately for him, like he does have a bit of charisma and leadership, and when he's playing well, he's quite a good centre half, but he does make a lot of howlers, a lot of mistakes. So, those guys are going to be worrying about themselves more than they're worrying about Ethan and how Ethan's doing. But like I say, there are some good people around. I won't put Mason Greenwood in that category because I know everybody's got views on him, understandably.
I do have a picture up of Timber.
Yes.
Timber. Yeah. Is this one of the less said about Greenwood, the better, I think, for sure. Yeah. And Timber, this has to be a good influence and a little connection.
No, it's a good shout. And he started well, Quinton Timber. I don't know him that well as a player, but he's got the same sort of feisty attitude as Urian. I mean, and he's a sort of pit bull type guy that he's done well in midfield, and the Marseille fans are liking him. And Ethan seems to have struck up a bond because they joined at the same time. So I think he's a mate as well. Just one sort of story going back to De Zerbi to give you a bit of a sort of insight into what it's been like in the last few weeks. One of the big issues that upset a lot of the team was the way he treated Amir Murillo, who is a proper sort of like loyal soldier, right back, who just gives everything. He's from Panama. He's quite a limited sort of player. I met him, I interviewed him, and it was among like the interviews I've done where I felt really touched and really sort of liked the guy. He broke down in tears at one point. He's from a really humble background. He was telling me about his mum and everything his mum's done, and he was crying. And it was just like, wow, this is such a beautiful story. So it kind of upset me as well when apparently De Zerbi just tore strips off him, saying you're useless, you've cost us so many goals, you've done this and that, you're leaving the club, boom. And apparently a lot of, and he did, he was pushed out. A lot of players were upset about that. So it's more insight into maybe what Ethan would have seen, and what a lot of the discussion might have been like in that dressing room. So no, it's not ideal. Yeah.
I love those types of anecdotes and insights. And yeah, players have feelings too. They're not just robots and machines. And I think sometimes, we tend to forget that, as privileged as they are, they're also still human beings. What haven't I asked you that you think Arsenal fans should know about Ethan's time so far in France? And I don't know. I don't even know if he's learning French. I don't know if William Saliba has given him a little pat on the back and, his phone number as his 911 call. Or I don't know, like what haven't I asked you that Arsenal fans should know about this loan move with Ethan?
I don't know if I'm going to have anything brilliant to reveal here. Honestly, he's been so sort of keeping, he hasn't done very much in terms of speaking to the media. He's been quite protected. I saw him when I was down there for a big game. It was the Liverpool game. He was there when Marseille lost to Liverpool in the Champions League. I saw him sort of in the tunnel because I was doing post-match interviews, and he was there with Quinton Timber and looking really excited. And I think, although Marseille were badly beaten in that game by Liverpool, I think, it is a really sort of exciting challenge for him. And I'm hoping that he's managing to sort of take a step back from everything that's gone on, because the pitch has changed a lot in a month, and recognizes the opportunity he's got. And I do think, Sophie, that, and I can't say this with certainty, but I do think William Saliba will absolutely be in contact, or he will be in contact with Saliba, saying this is going on, that's going on. I'm sure, Marseille is massive in France. Saliba is French. His mates, a lot of them, his family, they're all French. He's going to want to know what's going on. And I'd be very surprised if they weren't in regular, if not daily contact. So I'm sure that will help him. Mikel speaks French as well. I'm sure Mikel's got his people on the ground in Marseille keeping an eye on Ethan. So fingers crossed.
And also, can we just kind of nip this in the bud? There is no recall in the deal, is there, Matt? There's so many fans with the Mikel Merino injury and Odegaard, etc. They're saying, why? This is so dumb. Let's just bring him back.
No, I think that there is no recall. And I think when the decision was made, it was made, I think Mikel said that we're not going to recall a guy and make him, move house and what have you because of an injury or two. It's a decision that was made at the time, taking into account every eventuality, whether that's injuries or otherwise. And I don't think it'd be positive, to be honest, even for Ethan to come back now, and say, right, that didn't go very well, but we need you maybe to play 20 minutes in the cup, or maybe we'll need him to do more than that. But I think for him, and I know we're all very focused on what happens in the next 2 months, but I just think for the big picture, it's better for him to stay at Marseille, to really make a fist of this. And I think we'll be okay. I think Arsenal have got what it takes in the squad. Hopefully Eza's performance in the cup against Wigan is a sign that he can and will do more for us going forwards. And fingers crossed.
Definitely. I have an image up of Ethan, 15-year-old Ethan, the secret scout, 15-year-old Ethan Nwaneri assisting for Arsenal's under-21s and excelling at the level. Everyone in the academy across the country knows about him. Great kid. Everyone in academy football knows about him. Great kid, wonderful footballer. And I think that's one thing that we tend to forget. I know Ethan's got great parents behind him. His dad is probably his biggest champion. He came through the Arsenal system. It just shows you like where he started, right? The graft. You are the next big thing in not only Arsenal's universe, but in English football. Like you've been mapped out. You're the next star. And it comes with some struggles, of course, and other signings or players emerging at the club. And this is a great learning curve. Saliba learned from it, and Ethan can learn from it too. And having, I think, someone like, Timber, the Timber brothers are known for being good lads and good boys, and the more he sticks with the Timber side of
Yeah.
things there, I think he'll be just fine. And
And
I think this is
sorry,
the
Sophie.
making of him. The making of him, Matt. Go
That's
on,
what I'm
mate.
saying. That's what I'm saying because it hasn't gone smoothly. But if he can make something of this, if he can fight for his place, get his place back in the team, it's going to depend a bit on who the new coach is. We thought it was going to be Habib Bey, but I don't think it will now that Mehdi Benatia has gone. But if Ethan can, contribute, maybe score a handful of goals, score 5 goals between now and the end of the season, maybe take Marseille to a cup. If Marseille win the French Cup this season, it will go down as their best season in years. And PSG are out of the cup. So, there's still Lyon, there's still Lens, there are still good teams, but there's still stuff to play for. They're playing Lyon at the Velodrome in 2 weeks. That's going to be absolutely mental.
Wow.
And hopefully Ethan plays in that. And, if he can, I think it could be the making of him. I don't think we would realize in the UK how sort of significant that would be, and how, if Ethan comes back and he scored 5 goals in Ligue 1, but he's trying to win over a fan base. He's trying to help a team that is massive but currently in crisis, and that is all character building, because everything you said, Sophie, is right about his huge talent and potential and how he's being bigged up as Arsenal's next superstar. If there are question marks, it's probably about that character and what he's got deep down to kind of make sure that talent comes out, and this is it's an opportunity to do that.
Yeah, totally agree with you. And what I love is, as someone who's come through Hayland and stuff, we always want our Haylanders to do well. And Saka's set the benchmark so high that now you just expect everyone to be a Saka, but sometimes there is a Reece Nelson or an Emile Smith-Rowe. I think Ethan's so talented, and we're all behind him and rooting for him. And it's great to know as an Arsenal fan too that he, like I said, he's got a good spine with family support and the people around him as well. Matt, what have you got coming up on your French football show? And I would love to do another check-in with you. Maybe we could do one a month towards the end of the season, just to make sure Ethan's on point. But let us know what you've got coming up on the French football show.
Well, that game, Marseille-Lyon, it's going to be Ethan against Ainsley Maitland-Niles. So, that's one to watch. And I wanted to give Ainsley a shout out because he's doing really well. Lyon have won 13 in a row. He's playing at right back, very, very solid. And, I respect that because he's come over here, I think, quite a shy guy as well. And he's in his 3rd season now at Lyon, and he's doing well. He's popular.
That's great.
So, yeah.
That's really great.
So we talk
really
about Hairland kids doing well. Otherwise, the French football show this week, we're focusing on Lens, actually, because they are top of the league. They overtook Paris Saint-Germain. What they're doing is pretty fantastic. It's a really good story. They're a fascinating club to get behind, a real sort of working class club in a region that was sort of hit by the closure of all the coal mines, and they've got a real sort of identity, and they're a little bit sort of polar opposites to the bling bling of PSG. So I'm not saying I want Lens to win the league,
that.
but yeah, it would be great if they could.
Your screen actually froze on this bit. You're going to love it when you see it. You're going to absolutely love it when you see it. It's a great, this is why, Matt, I don't understand opposing fans who want Manchester City to win the title over Arsenal. Like, what are you doing? I sound like a broken record saying this over and over, but it's crazy to me. Like, Lens would be a phenomenal story. I'm looking forward to seeing that and following that. But yeah, I just think in a time where monetization and globalization and billionaires and oil magnates and are taking over, stories like that really matter. Yeah. Good one. Good one. All right. You can follow Matt at Matt here, Matt Spiro, Mattspiro for those listening on our audio platforms. And follow the French football show. Make sure you do that. If you like great football conversations, You won't want to miss Matt's stuff. When I say French football expert, I do not say that lightly. Thank you, Matt, for joining. Really appreciate you being the guinea pig for Is This On episode 1. Appreciate you very much. And we look forward to catching up with you next month for another little Ethan Nwaneri watch. How about that?
Pleasure. And hopefully we'll have some exciting Ethan stuff to talk about. Fingers crossed.
That'll be great. Thanks to Matt. Thanks, Squaddies. Thanks to everyone listening on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your audio juice. Don't miss a show. Subscribe across all platforms. Don't forget to tell your loved ones you love them at ease. We'll see you soon. Take care. Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad. Follow at Highbury Squad. Subscribe to Apple and Spotify. Don't miss an episode. See you soon.